Hi, everybody. My name is Francois van Splunder. So I'm a senior product marketing manager for Dynamics 365 Commerce. So today, what I'm going to do, sort of further on what a lot of my colleagues have discussed and some of the great insights they're bringing, is sort of give you a bit more detail around the conversations we're having with customers on a Dynamics side of things, and really looking in insights into what is happening within the retail industry. As I'm sure many of you are aware, how are some of those customers we're talking to adjusting and utilizing technology to sort of, one, adjust to the immediate needs, but also build agility for the future, and taking the learnings that they've done today to really adopt for the future capabilities in their business. And so fundamentally for us, really, when we look at the needs as retail businesses are changing and how consumers are engaging, is digital is definitely the new normal for us. So I think with the transition of COVID and social isolation, customers have had to switch to digital platforms, e-commerce, social media, all the different aspects to really engage with us, for retailers as a whole. And that's really opened up a lot of, I think, insights into business practices as it's been in the past. I think many retailers have adopted technology as the need has arisen over the time. So what that has led to is many retail industry, or many retailers, having disconnected systems between their physical retail platforms, their e-commerce retail platforms, their social platforms, and operational infrastructure as a whole. And I think this is not new, right? We've been talking about omnichannel or unified commerce for years. I think never before has it been so evident the importance of having that, really, from not just being able for a customer to buy online, but also being able to have that view of that customer as they transition from a digital platform to a physical store, having that visibility of that customer as they move through their purchasing decision making and engagement, and actually moving from there. So really, like, bringing systems together is key. The complexity of doing that is unfortunately more complicated. So we can talk about that in a little bit more. Contactless selling, I'm sure everybody's heard about this, and I'm sure everybody is adopting it in many different ways for their businesses. The interesting thing, I think, when we're talking to analysts, is that contactless selling is here, and I don't think it's going to go away quickly. I think initially when we went down into lockdown, everybody thought it was going to be a couple of months and then moving through that period. But unfortunately, contactless selling is now a mandatory thing. So especially the likes of curbside collection or social distancing within stores, all these things are important, especially for customers to feel safe in their shopping experience. Thirdly, is I think customer experience is now a massive differentiator, even though we don't, or is even more important nowadays than it was before. I think going into a digital platform, you have the ability, or you need to look at the ability of actually personalizing that experience for your customer. And that requires intelligence and data insights into the customer behavior to really personalize that message in that engagement or in that point of time, versus potentially going down a digital platform just being price competitive. I think everybody knows price is a race to the bottom. And so if you're differentiating on a digital platform purely by having a product there and having the price, you're always going to get beaten. It's really coming down deeper and understanding the customer, understanding the preferences, and enabling them to get that personalized or affiliate messaging that resonates with them. And then I think lastly, I think supply chain. We tend to look at retail as more customer engagement factors, but supply chain, or the operational infrastructure that backs that, is just as important, because foundationally is, even if we can take an order online, or if we can take an order through a call center or whatever method we're doing it, but we don't have visibility in the inventory, we don't know how long it's going to take it, we're going to sort of let down the customer from that experiential perspective. So these are all requirements, and this is all the things that our customers are saying to us they want to adjust to. So many of our customers that we're talking to have had robust investments into a physical store. So when they have to transition into a digital ecosystem, having a single view, a single source of truth for their business is absolutely key. So understanding where your inventory is at, understanding how your customer is shopping from one point to the other. Utilizing your stores is not only a place for retail, but also a place of distribution. So one of the key things some of our customers are working with here, I think we talked about Patagonia, but Colombia is another one, is utilizing their in-store inventory as part of the distribution channel, right? So not having stock just sitting there, not having it dead, but and racking up costs for the business, but actually utilizing those instances to improve their customer shopping experiences and move further from there. And then again, AI, the role of AI, I think we talked about it a lot before here, AI and IoT, but I think everybody realizes the relevance of it, but understanding how do I start adopting that for my business? How do I gain easy access to it is still a massive question that our customers are asking. And I think fundamentally it really comes down to, the approach we take to planning out our future capabilities. So there is an emergent need at the moment to adjust to how our customers are engaging with the businesses today. But over and above that, it's also looking at a business holistically and understanding where are those silos, what is happening within the business, and where are those urgent needs that we can adjust to. Because we've had so many customers come to us saying, hey, can we go live with a digital commerce construct within 3 to 4 weeks? How are you going to get us in contact with our end consumer more rapidly? And really that comes down to understanding the data infrastructure that sits underneath your business and moving from there. And again, once you start with data and AI as the core, we can really build out from that to address all the different needs of the businesses, whether that be how your employees are working, whether that be how your operational infrastructure is going. And I think this is the fundamental value proposition from a Dynamics perspective, is really bringing together some of those traditionally disconnected systems into one. And from Dynamics perspective, we look at a suite of products across Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, not just within retail industry, but also all the different functions from marketing and sales to actually get to that. But what we're going to do today is just double click a little bit more on the commerce perspective and what we can do within that side of things. So going a little bit deeper into that unified commerce sales cycle, the reason I want to talk about this in a little bit, and hopefully most of you are familiar with the sales, is that when you look at a B2C customer journey, it is no longer just linear, right? The way customers engage with you isn't walking into a storefront, talking to a salesperson, and walking out with the product. There is so much that happened before, how we engage with the customer before, from a branding perspective, from an engaging perspective, all the way through from when the point of decision is made, how we are following through with that promise of delivering that product, giving them the insights into where the product is at any given time, and having that seamless experience that every customer wants to go down. And I think, across these different phases of discovery, engagement, and conversion, there are key things that we need to take into account. So discovery, of course, we talked about personalization, the relevance there, but utilizing AI and machine learning to really augment that will enable us to really, so you don't have to manually go through and adjust for every customer, but the system automatically responds to the customer needs, supported with loyalty and peer insights, because a lot of customers now purchase purely on recommendations or reviews and recommendations from other shoppers. And I know, for instance, my wife does it all the time. If it doesn't have a certain review score, she doesn't tend to go down that line. So I think we've trained our shoppers to behave in a certain way, and we need to understand how our businesses are addressing those needs as well. And engagement perspective, really how are we engaging with them at any given time, from experiential activities, going deeper than just a transactional base, but also giving them the relevant information at the right time to go beyond that. And then conversion, of course, from a frictionless perspective, making sure that they can buy whenever, wherever, on whatever device they want to do it, not being limited by having to go down a specific track or have a lot of manual intervention into that process of purchasing. So all these things are absolutely key for us to do it. And so really for us, when we're going from a commerce perspective, we look at this holistic journey and understanding that, commerce for us, when we talk about unified commerce, and I know the term is out there a lot, is that it's all the different facets of retail and commerce that we need to run from a business perspective as well as from a customer perspective, right? Because foundationally, just doing the front end isn't going to get you anywhere if you can engage a customer, sell something, but you can't fulfill it due to supply chain ineffective supply chain or visibility across the board. So really for us from a commerce perspective, Dynamics 365 Commerce, for those of you that may not be aware, we've been in the retail industry for over 10 years from a solution perspective, but we've recently evolved our value proposition to commerce because we can see the holistic nature of this solution. And we've also brought in native e-commerce functionality to our solutions for 365. But the bigger value for us is really the product and how it's built and what it means from a customer, for you as a customer to start from. So we've built the solution on a headless commerce engine. So it's an API-driven engine that really can enable composability for the solution as well. So you can look at your existing infrastructure and start from a point. You can connect either customer-facing or operational-facing fundamentals to really round out your solution as it sits at the moment, or you can look at a cohesive platform to start to have all the capabilities from beginning to end. But so I think from what it looks like from a customer experience perspective, again, a lot of people get caught up on that. Hey, all I need to do is be able to provide e-commerce, and with the customer-facing activities, we know that it's more than just that single facet of being able to take an order. It's understanding how we bring together all these different parts to complement each other, how we engage from an evaluation perspective. Like I said, we talked about search functionality, recommendations, ratings, and reviews. But even something simple as search, within commerce itself, we work in with a broader Microsoft infrastructure to utilize Bing search that is context aware and understands the search relevance, because one of the worst things you can do from a customer perspective is return a zero sum. So they have to go to a different site and find that. But also going through other aspects from the operational side of things to how do we look at the inventory control? How do we utilize intelligent distribution systems? How do we engage some of the in-store operations to complement our digital store operations and move forward from there? So some of the customers we're talking to here have utilized this technology to change the way they're engaging amidst COVID. So a couple of examples here. I can talk about Coca-Cola United. They're one of the third largest bottler, for instance, in the US, and they came to us amidst COVID saying, hey, we've seen this disruption in our ability to engage with our customers. We want to expand on our non-for-profit area and engage customers that would have traditionally gone through a school-based PTA system to purchase and fundraise. And we want to digitize that process. And so working with them, within 6 weeks, we managed to stand up a whole new process for them to enable digital fundraising events, utilizing digital commerce, but also powered through their existing infrastructure, so they get insights into what stocks required where, how do they forecast for orders, and really addressing the needs of the customer as they come through. And again, bringing together quite a complex backend system, we were able to adopt to what they needed to enable those solutions for their customers. Working with UPS stores, I think even coming into the holiday period at the moment, UPS has rolled out in-store experiences for them across, I think, 1,500 stores across the US, and really understanding their workloads as they go into this Christmas period, holiday period, where they're going to have a massive increase in shipping. So understanding the stock flow, understanding what the customer is engaging with and where is absolutely key for them to deliver on their promise to get the right products at the right place at the right time. And then again, even Patagonia, we mentioned this before, where they had to shutter their business. Again, when COVID hit, they closed down a lot of their in-store operations, as many retailers did. But utilizing our extended functionality within Microsoft Teams, they work internally to deploy additional solutions for them to really transform their stores, not just from a safe shopping experience perspective, but also utilize their stores as mini distribution hubs. And so they could transition more easily to a digital engagement where they push majority of their engagement through the digital platforms, but then fulfilled it through their physical store, either via curbside collection or buy online, click and collect in store, or even as a distribution through those store channels. But so I think, fundamentally from a commerce perspective as a whole, we look at everything from, how do we build that loyalty? How do we engage? How do we work with our customers to really simplify the digital commerce experience and bring together some of their other existing infrastructures to deliver that? Or how do we help them transform their whole business? And I'll talk about a customer in the future that sort of adopted this platform as a whole just before COVID hit and how they managed to adjust to that. But really, flexibility, security, and bringing all that functionalities, living on Azure, being able to scale globally as you need to is absolutely key. And so we've had some really good successes in the short term and helped customers or businesses transform and enable their engagement with their customers much better. So I want to talk a little bit, because we're at time, a little bit some of the emerging technologies we've got coming through as well, and some of the recent broader technologies for retail we've announced for Dynamics 365. So fraud protection, again, one unfortunate things as COVID is we've seen a massive ramp up in fraudulent activity, both online, but also for other avenues of the businesses. And unfortunately, during times of crisis, we do see these activities increase as well. But fraud protection, we recently released in July this year. But again, these are a lot of these technologies we actually used within Microsoft first, and then have brought those to our customers to utilize. And so they can take the learnings and investments we've done internally from Microsoft and really scale it from there. And fraud protection is one of those examples where this has been used for Xbox Store as well as Microsoft storefronts to really help us drive savings and better engagement for our stores, digital stores from Microsoft. And using that conglomerate sort of insights from how fraudulent activities behave, we can really drive that value down to any customer of ours to understand their business operations and identify fraudulent activities earlier. Customer insights, we talk about the value of personalization, and we talk about the value of having that customer record. And customer insights on the CDP really enables us to connect that customer experience across all the different facets, from digital to physical to remote assistance to post-service. All these insights we can bring into that. And if you haven't seen customer insights, really highly, we're going to give you some input into that. But the great thing for us is, looking holistically across the Dynamics platform as we stand up some of these functionalities natively within our product. So, for instance, customer insights natively lives within commerce. We can really expand upon that for the clienteling perspective. So, if a customer walks into a store, we have the holistic view of the customer, understanding what their preferences are, also understanding where their problems are, and we can drive next best action for that and empower employees to take proactive action there. And then Connected Store, if you're not familiar with Connected Store, again, this builds on the IoT conversation we had before, where we utilize AI machine learning and IoT sensors within the store, or camera sensors, to now actually gain a much better understanding of our physical storefronts. So knowing that we have things like clickstream analytics for digital storefronts, we can take connected camera infrastructures as well as IoT and AI to gain better learnings of our physical store experiences, and we'll talk about that briefly as well. So I do want to talk about sort of the three forms of fraud that we see most prevalently, namely identity, purchase, and post-purchase foundational. So identity fraud really comes to a whole in engaging with it. So we see a lot of fake accounts being created online, and we see a lot of account compromises as it goes through there. So being able to identify a real account from a fake account is absolutely key, and it saves us a lot of money in the future if we can whittle out those bad actors from the start. Over and above that, I think purchase protection is really at the point of purchase itself. So this is not replacing the things that we're doing with banking. We actually work very closely with the banking industries to help understand customers' behavior, help understand customers' likelihood of fraudulent activity. So we actually look at, like I said, a global fraudulent sort of information pool that we then draw insights from, and then we can actually give the banks much deeper insights into the customer so they can make a better decision. So really it's driving up the approval ratings for customers, but also giving you a better fraud threshold or profile to actually move to the next point, or to move the customers on, so you don't actually lose any opportunities for that. As well as then from a post-purchase really, or internal fraud perspective as well, what does it look like from our internal function on how people are engaging, or our employees engaging with the solutions and identifying those out. And so really, again, fraud protection really lands on those three principles: account protection, purchase protection, and loss prevention. And loss prevention being much more focused on internal discounting bad actors from our employees' perspective, or people like misusing the systems to get better outputs for themselves. So I think where we have those analytics and gain insights, we can actually lead to much better actions that can make us make better decisions. And again, we've been working with a lot of major companies here. Just even on purchase protection, we've had some of the largest gaming providers in the world, drive substantial, like we're talking about millions of dollars of savings a year, just because they can actually identify customers better and actually give the banking systems or the payment providers better information to actually clear the right deals and reject the wrong ones. And then again, we had some physical stores that we worked on, some companies in the UK, where they could better understand their employee behavior, where there is unknown discounting, unknown transactions happening, or even areas that the business hadn't identified before. They can see those anomalies and actually take appropriate action to address them. And then I really want to go for Connected Store. We sort of talked about this briefly, but Connected Store, there's some great videos. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go into here today, but just sort of showing you the fundamentals of how we actually can take the physical store experiences and actually digitize that. And again, the great thing here is it's not just around understanding shopping lines in stores, understanding where there's a spill in the aisles. We can actually gain deeper insights into traffic flows within stores, understand where there's hotspots or not, understand what is going to be the best display methodology for us to drive the better outcome for our retail practice, and make changes and make better decisions based on that insight. So my days in retail, I would have loved to have had something like this because of the insights it can deliver for us in stores. But also, we're also looking to extend this functionality beyond that. If you can look at from a COVID perspective, we can also then identify when customers are practicing social distancing correctly. We can understand where there's high risk zones. We can understand when the lines are getting too long at a cashier, and that automatically triggers an action to our manager to actually get additional cashiering on board, for instance, and so on. So, and again, all these things living within the applications, either through Teams, or we can surface this through commerce itself to trigger those tasks accordingly for our sellers to take action. And again, it moves between the digital and physical worlds where we can, this is the Connected Store currently is in preview, so we can absolutely give you more detail and preview for us. But yeah, as we can enhance this, we are continuing to build new functionalities with the capabilities that this is bringing through. But really driving back that, how do we maximize the profitability in our physical stores? How do we understand what's on our shelves? And also even working with some of our partners from a retail perspective to actually give them insights into what works and what doesn't work from a display perspective, or even a store behavior side of things. And again, Connected Store, we worked really closely with Marks & Spencer out of the UK. They've been one of our preview customers here, and just giving them additional insights, and they're giving us great feedback just on how we can improve this product as a whole. But there is a lot of potential here for this product going forward, and it's very exciting from innovation from an IoT perspective. And then finally, I want to talk about the customer data platform. Again, CDP is majorly important. If you're not familiar with this, or you don't have a clear understanding of your perspective to it, highly recommend you reach out to one of the team to actually go deep on this sort of things, because having that understanding the customer is core to what we do as a business. Right? The better insights we have to the customer, the more we can understand their needs now and in the future, and we can adjust accordingly to meet that. But then it drills into multifaceted, from marketing engagement beforehand, understanding how we better service the customer needs before they even walk into a store or decide to purchase, to the in-store experience, from actually giving our sellers insights into that customer behavior with our stores in the past, and making sure that we have customers for life rather than this moments in time. And I know from a customer experience myself, coming into a store, having that person identify me, having understanding of what my value is to the store based on my previous purchases, as well as my preferences are, it really drives forward for me to come back and build that loyalty as a whole. And drive meaningful conversations, I think, as a whole, just is so relevant these days, again, with all the noise out there. And I'm not going to go deeply on this one, but just understanding that with a CDP, what we do is we take all the internal and external data that comes through. We've organized it into connectors to actually match those to the entities. We could drive analytics through it through Power BI, and we can actually do additional actions on top of that through either our Power Platform or third-party integration suites, to then drive next best action to go from there. So it's a really robust system, and I think we're leading the field here for most people, and really driving outputs for our businesses, like the ones I showed here, where we can sort of see what's the customers doing, what is their average spending is. We can even drive into next best action for our employees, saying, hey, offer a discount, or here's a recommendation of a new stock item coming through that would be a perfect fit for this customer. So Having these insights, and this again, one of some of the biggest values of connected data, also drives through that. And again, this is built with Azure. We work with the Synapse team to actually drive these actions through, and we can utilize this data across multi parts of our business as well. And then I want to just sort of briefly touch on, because I know we're very short on time. Yeah, Saint Michel for us, they were a customer broadly from Dynamics perspective. They're the third largest premium bottler or premium wine distributor in the US for over 14 different brands. And so they came to us last year, even just to look at unifying their platform. They went live, I think, after 4 months on a holistic platform. So we brought together a lot of their existing infrastructure. And they literally went live with all their sites in January, just before the COVID hit. And to put it in perspective, normally only 5% of their business was driven digitally. They have a very robust experience for tasting rooms, and they had to change their business model robust literally within 24 hours and closing down all their tasting rooms and moving to a purely digital engagement model. So I think currently something in the first 2 months of COVID, digital commerce made up 95% of their business. They probably saw growth, 2 to 3 years growth in 2 to 3 weeks within this platform. And just being able to pivot and adjust to the needs of the customer in the market is such a, we had such positive feedback from them, and that we have a video up there for them to sort of talking about their journey and how they went about doing it as well. So definitely worth looking at. But I would want to say we work with multiple customers. So we have thousands of customers alive on Dynamics 365 Commerce, and we work with multiple customers outside of Dynamics across the board, really helping them. And I think the great thing here for us and where we're getting to with the technology is that we can start where you need, right? So you don't have to rip and replace a holistic system. We can understand the need from the business, understand what is going to be needed to drive that forward, and you can, again, start and grow. And I do want to say this, I know we are at time, is if you are interested in finding out more, please reach out to us. We can actually sit down and go through with a virtual or on-site briefing session to get a better perspective of what your business needs are. Within commerce, for instance, we can actually stand up a whole new digital site within a day for you to give you a perspective of what that would look like for your business and some of the value propositions and additional features that you will have then versus now. Or if you want to go a little bit deeper with proof of concepts, we're always here to help. But yeah, so that's, I know we're out of time, guys, but really appreciate your time today, and always here for questions if you need anything else.